Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the 808 podcast where we take business owners, CEOs, marketing directors, whoever else I feel like, for questions in 8 minutes and 8 seconds because 808 looks like Bob. Here we go. Question number one in a couple sentences. Tell me who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, my name is Rich Taylor. I'm a VP of Marketing and Operations at a startup called Qualio, and we sell, we help life sciences companies with their quality management systems.
Love it. Right to the point, Rich. Question number two. What advice would you like to share? Go.
Yeah, I think the one thing I've found over and over, especially at startups, but any company really is, the lack of a growth plan or a very unsophisticated kind of growth plan. And what I mean by a growth plan is, how do you plan to grow? What are the inputs to it? How do you make money? And doing those things, and then having a plan that you execute against and measure against. And I think that's the thing I've found that's often lacking, or it's just rudimentary, and you gotta dig into it more.
Yeah. So how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just knowing the business. So how do you make money, and what are the costs of making money at your business? So I think that's number one, is knowing your business and writing it all down and just putting it on a diagram, putting it on the wall. I think second is knowing what the inputs are to the plan. So for us, it's salespeople, what their quotas are, how many marketing leads we get. It could be lots of things around that. And but inputs are very important, knowing what the cost of goods sold, those types of things are. We also talk about kind of a budget and how much it costs per lead, how many of those, what the conversion rate is. And then you can easily measure against all those things. And here's what we thought we were going to do. Here's the historicals, and here's what we did do. And then, just, you can use sophisticated software, or you can do something as close as, you can do something as little as just basically put it on a spreadsheet or put it on a piece of paper and going for it.
And also can be as simple, like I'll use me as an example. How do I make money? People buy my service. How do people buy my service? They go through a presentation.
Yeah.
How do I get through a presentation? I use a networking thing. So as you can see, you go all the way back there. So itchy nose there. Understand, I know how many conversations it takes by going that way, going backwards to actually make a sale on average.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for most companies, it could be very simple. For some, it feels very complicated, but once you write it all out, you can also find ways to simplify your process there. If your cost of goods, well, if you're selling a $5 widget and it's taken way too many things to do it, you should just simplify your process. So going through this process also really helps you dig down into what's important.
Absolutely. Love it there. Hey, you got that done super quick. I love it. Let's get to question number 3. Rich, it's time for shout outs. Who are you shouting out?
Yeah, I think I often go back to 2 people. It was my boss and my boss's boss at the first software company I was at. So my boss was Jeff Wiss. He was somebody that taught me a lot, and just a great person. And then his boss was Zach Erlocker. And we, 2 people I often think of, what would Jeff Wiss do and what would Zach do still today, and that was 10 years ago. So I think those are the 2 people I'd love to shout out.
Love it. I'll look them up there. Question number 4, the final fun question. Rich, tell me about your first sale.
Yeah, so I was a paper boy when I was younger. So that was probably some of my first sales is going door to door and selling, newspaper subscriptions. But I also sold pest control door to door while in university. I still remember my first sale. I was knocking. My friend had done 5 his first day, and I was just trying to get that first one. I went back to a house. It was getting dark. And I landed that sale in that guy's house, towards the end of the night, and it felt really good. Went on the 3rd summer we did it. We did about $3 million in revenue with 40 sales reps and 20 technicians, and had a really great summer. So awesome. I'll always remember that first sale.
That is awesome there. Yeah, I've had other VPs of marketing on, and they tell me why I don't do sales. I'm like, never. And one guy said no, and I'm like, well, how did you get the job? It's kind of that part there. So totally get at you on that part there. So you have 3 minutes and 42 seconds left. Here's a couple things you can do. You can use some promo time. You can ask me a question. You can brag about your beard that makes me jealous. Or since the best know when to be concise and when to end, we end early. Go for it.
Yeah, I think ending early is always good. I mean, if you're in life sciences, you should definitely use an EQMS. But I think Other than that, I don't have much to say. Yeah.
That works. Hey, we'll get done quick there. You pulled it off. 4 questions at 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Rich, why is it 8 minutes and 8 seconds?
Because it looks like Bob.
It does. It does. Your website, say it real quick.
Qualio.com.
It's in the description. It's magic. Rich, thank you so much for being on. Tip of the hat to you.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And for everyone else watching or listening, I'm legally required to tell you to like, share, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell, whatever the heck the social media network tells you to do. You all have a good day. Now, talk to you later. Bye.